The city pulses with life as neon lights reflect off rain-slicked streets, creating a kaleidoscope of colors against the night sky. It's just past midnight, that magical hour when the early birds have gone home, but the night owls are still wide awake, searching for adventure or connection or maybe just a decent slice of pizza before heading home. The air carries the faint scent of street food, perfume, and possibility, that distinct urban cocktail that makes city nights feel electric with potential. People weave through the crowded sidewalks, laughing, talking, living their stories in real time as taxi cabs and rideshares zoom past, their headlights cutting through the gentle mist that's settled over everything. Among these night wanderers is Alex, clutching a portfolio case tightly against his chest. He's just left a networking event for young professionals, his third this month, and while the connections were promising, the small talk had drained him completely. At 32, Alex has finally found his footing in the marketing world, but his personal life remains a work in progress. Coming out just 2 years ago meant he's still navigating the dating scene with the wide-eyed uncertainty of a teenager, despite the confidence he projects in boardroom presentations. Tonight, his normally perfectly styled dark hair has wilted slightly from the humidity, and his blue button-down shirt has a small coffee stain near the cuff. Imperfections that would have mortified him earlier, but now seem trivial as exhaustion sets in. Not far away, moving through the same crowded street, but somehow emanating an entirely different energy, is Jordan. Where Alex calculates, Jordan creates. A freelance photographer whose work has recently started appearing in local galleries, Jordan approaches life with the same eye he uses behind the camera, always looking for beauty in unexpected places, always framing the world in ways others might miss. His curly hair is pulled back in a loose bun, and paint stains decorate the cuffs of his jeans, remnants of helping a friend with a mural earlier that evening. At 34, Jordan has been comfortable with his sexuality for years, but relationships have come and gone like seasons, none taking root deeply enough to weather a full year. Neither man notices the other until the moment they both reach for the same taxi door, the last visible cab on a street suddenly devoid of transportation options as rain begins to fall more heavily from the night sky. Their hands brush, an accidental touch that sends a surprising jolt through both of them. "Sorry," Alex says automatically, pulling back slightly, but not fully relinquishing his claim on the door handle. "I think I was here first, though." Jordan raises an eyebrow, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Actually, I'm pretty sure my hand touched the handle a millisecond before yours." He's not usually this competitive about something so trivial, but something about the man's crisp shirt and serious expression makes him want to ruffle those perfectly ironed feathers. Alex sighs, feeling raindrops beginning to seep through his thin jacket. "Look, I've had a really long night of pretending to be interested in blockchain technology while drinking watered-down cocktails. I just want to get home. And I've spent 3 hours helping a friend paint a mural for her kid's school while she told me all about her divorce," Jordan counters, holding his camera bag closer to protect it from the increasing rainfall. "So we're both having stellar evenings." The cab driver, a middle-aged man with salt and pepper hair and the weary expression of someone who's seen every possible human drama play out in his back seat, rolls down the window. "Where are you headed?" he asks, looking between them. Both men speak at once, giving addresses in opposite directions. The driver shakes his head. "Look, it's my last run of the night, and there's a storm coming. I'm only taking couples heading to the same place. That's my policy when it's this late and the weather's bad, less running around the city." Alex and Jordan exchange a look of disbelief, then glance around at the empty street. No other taxis, no rideshare cars in sight, and the rain is now coming down in sheets. "We're together," Jordan says suddenly, placing a hand on Alex's shoulder. "Right, babe?" Alex stiffens momentarily, then catches on. The weight of Jordan's hand on his shoulder feels strangely comfortable, despite belonging to a complete stranger. "Right?" he manages, forcing a smile. "We're heading to my place." The driver looks skeptical but unlocks the doors with a shrug. "Whatever you say. Get in before you both drown out there." They slide into the back seat, closing the door against the downpour, suddenly very aware of their proximity in the confined space. Alex gives his address, and the cab pulls away from the curb, windshield wipers working overtime against the rain. "Thanks for playing along," Alex says quietly, trying to maintain a respectable distance on the seat. I'm Alex, by the way. Jordan, comes the reply, accompanied by a smile that transforms his entire face. And no problem. I figured neither of us wanted to wait another hour for transportation in this weather. Alex nods, taking in Jordan's appearance now that they're in the dim light of the cab. The man is handsome in an unconventional way, not the polished, Instagram filter handsome that populates dating apps, but something more interesting, with laugh lines around his eyes and an asymmetrical smile that suggests he finds humor in unexpected places. So, blockchain, huh? Jordan asks, breaking the silence. You in tech. Alex laughs, relaxing slightly. Marketing, actually. But every networking event these days seems to involve at least 3 people who want to explain cryptocurrency to you in excruciating detail. Sounds fascinating, Jordan says with good-natured sarcasm. Almost as fun as hearing about the intricacies of divorce proceedings while balancing on a stepladder. The cab hits a pothole, jostling them closer together momentarily. Alex catches a whiff of paint and something else, maybe sandalwood, from Jordan's direction. You're an artist? He asks, noticing the paint on Jordan's hands. Photographer mainly, Jordan corrects. The paint is just from helping a friend. Though I do dabble in mixed media sometimes. He pauses, studying Alex with interest. What kind of marketing? Digital strategy for a few sustainable brands. Alex replies, surprised at how easy the conversation feels. Helping companies that are actually doing good things tell their stories better. Jordan's eyes light up. That's actually really cool. I did a photo series last year on urban gardens and sustainability initiatives around the city. There's this amazing rooftop farm in Brooklyn that's growing food for local shelters. The cab driver makes a sharp turn, and this time when they're pushed together, neither makes a hurried effort to re-establish distance. I'd love to see those photos sometime, Alex says, then immediately wonders if that sounds like a line. Jordan seems to consider this, tilting his head slightly. Well, since we're together according to our driver, he says with a conspiratorial whisper, maybe we should actually get coffee sometime. The cab slows at a red light, and through the rain-streaked windows, the city looks like an impressionist painting, all blurred lights and color. In this moment, in this small moving space cut off from the world, Alex feels a strange sense of possibility opening up before him. I'd like that, he says simply. The driver clears his throat. Change of plans. Main street's flooded from the storm. I need to take a detour through downtown. Jordan glances out the window. Actually, there's an all-night diner just around the corner from here. Best pie in the city. He turns to Alex. Unless you're in a rush to get home, Alex should be tired. He should want nothing more than his apartment, a hot shower, and sleep. Instead, he finds himself saying, pie sounds perfect, actually. The driver raises an eyebrow in the rearview mirror, but changes direction without comment. 5 minutes later, they're sliding into a booth at the Blue Moon Diner, a retro establishment with checkered floors and neon signs that has somehow survived decades of changing city landscapes. The rain continues to pour outside, creating a cozy barrier between them and the rest of the world. I can't believe I'm having pie with a stranger at 1 a.m, Alex says, shaking his head as a waitress places 2 slices of cherry pie and coffee in front of them. Are we still strangers? Jordan asks, taking a bite of pie. I mean, we've shared a cab, pretended to be a couple, and now we're having a midnight snack together. That's practically a relationship milestone in this city. Alex laughs, surprising himself with how genuine it sounds. When was the last time he'd laughed like that with someone he'd just met? Fair point. So tell me something that would upgrade us from strangers to acquaintances at least. Jordan considers this, stirring cream into his coffee. Okay, 3 years ago, I was supposed to have a big gallery opening, my first real show. I'd been working toward it for years. The night before, I panicked and almost pulled everything out because I suddenly thought all my work was terrible. What happened? Alex asks, genuinely interested. My sister came over, looked at all the photos, then slapped me. Not hard, but enough to snap me out of it, and told me that if I didn't show up, she'd hang the embarrassing family photos of me from middle school instead. Jordan smiles at the memory. The show went well, sold most of the collection, and it launched my career. But I still needed that push. Alex nods, understanding the vulnerability in sharing such a story. I get that. I spent years in the closet, working for companies whose values I didn't share, dating women I couldn't love, all because I was terrified of disrupting the life I'd carefully constructed. When I finally came out 2 years ago, it was like, I don't know, like I'd been holding my breath underwater and finally surfaced. Jordan's expression softens. That takes courage. Or desperation, Alex counters with a self-deprecating smile. There's only so long you can live someone else's life before you start to disappear. Outside, lightning flashes, illuminating the diner in a brief, electric moment. The thunder that follows seems to underscore the weight of their exchange. Definitely not strangers anymore, Jordan says quietly. They talk for another hour, moving from personal histories to favorite films, books that change their perspectives, places they dream of visiting. The conversation flows with surprising ease, punctuated by laughter and moments of unexpected connection. Alex learns that Jordan grew up in a small town upstate before moving to the city for college and never leaving. Jordan discovers that Alex speaks fluent Spanish from a year abroad in Madrid and can recite poetry in the language that he won't translate because it sounds better in Spanish anyway. When the rain finally subsides to a gentle drizzle, they step outside to find the city transformed, quieter, glistening, almost magical in the aftermath of the storm. I live about 6 blocks from here, Alex says, suddenly reluctant for the night to end. I'm in the opposite direction, Jordan replies, equally hesitant. But I could walk with you, just to make sure you get home safe, of course. Alex smiles. Of course. Very chivalrous of you. They walk slowly, their shoulders occasionally brushing, pointing out architectural details and street art that most people hurry past without noticing. The city feels different at this hour, more intimate, as if sharing secrets with those still awake to listen. This is me, Alex says eventually, stopping in front of a pre-war building with an ornate entrance. He turns to face Jordan, suddenly feeling like a teenager at the end of a first date, unsure of the protocol. Jordan takes a small step closer. I had a really good time tonight, which is not what I was expecting when we were fighting over that cab. Me too, Alex admits. It's funny how things work out sometimes. There's a moment of charged silence, filled with possibility. Jordan's gaze drops briefly to Alex's lips, then back to his eyes, a question in the look. Alex makes the decision almost without thinking, closing the distance between them. The kiss is gentle at first, tentative, before deepening into something more certain. Jordan's hand comes up to cup his face, and Alex finds himself leaning into the touch. When they finally pull apart, both slightly breathless, the city around them seems to have faded into the background, existing only as distant sounds and blurred lights. I should go, Jordan says, though he makes no move to leave. But can I see you again? Properly this time, not just because a cab driver forced us together. Alex laughs softly. I think we should send that driver a thank you card. He pulls out his phone. Give me your number? They exchange information, fingers brushing during the handoff of phones, each contact sending small shivers of anticipation. I'll call you tomorrow, Jordan promises, finally stepping back. Or today, technically, since it's already morning. I'll answer, Alex replies simply. Jordan walks backward a few steps, as if reluctant to break eye contact, before turning and heading down the street. He glances back once, raising a hand in farewell, his smile visible even from a distance. Inside his apartment, Alex leans against the closed door, replaying the night in his mind. From the networking event he'd been so eager to escape to this unexpected encounter that had somehow become one of the most memorable nights he'd had in years. He pulls out his phone, looking at the new contact, Jordan, cab competitor / pie connoisseur, with a camera emoji beside it. Across the city, Jordan walks through the quiet streets toward his apartment, camera in hand, occasionally stopping to capture the way the streetlights reflect in the puddles left by the storm. He finds himself photographing ordinary things, a newspaper stand, a fire escape, the curve of a street sign, but somehow, tonight, they all look different to him. More significant, full of possibility. The next morning, Alex wakes to a text message and a photo, a cab driving through a puddle, sending up a spray of water that catches the light like diamonds. The message reads, "Thought you might like to see the villain / matchmaker from our story. Coffee later." Alex smiles, typing his reply, "Definitely. I know a place with pie that's almost as good as their coffee." And so begins something neither of them had expected when they reached for that cab door. A connection born from coincidence, nurtured by conversation, and now growing into something that feels remarkably like the beginning of love. In the weeks that follow, they discover more about each other. How Jordan talks with his hands when he's passionate about a subject, how Alex hums unconsciously when he's content, the way they both prefer the corner seat in coffee shops where they can watch the world go by. They visit galleries together, Jordan introducing Alex to artist friends whose work opens new worlds of perception. Alex brings Jordan to sustainability events, watching with pleasure as he captures images that tell the story better than any marketing copy ever could. They have disagreements, too, about politics, about whether cilantro is delicious or tastes like soap, about the merits of planning versus spontaneity. But even their arguments feel different, grounded in respect and genuine curiosity about each other's perspectives. 3 months after their first meeting, they find themselves in another taxi, heading to dinner at a restaurant they've both wanted to try. The driver, an older woman with bright red hair, asks how long they've been together. "It's complicated," Alex begins, but Jordan interrupts. 3 months, he says confidently. "We met fighting over a cab during a rainstorm." The driver laughs. "That's a new one. Most couples I pick up these days met on apps." "Sometimes the old-fashioned ways are best," Jordan says, reaching for Alex's hand. "Sometimes you just have to be in the right place at the right time." Alex squeezes his hand, thinking about all the coincidences that had to align for them to meet. The networking event running late, Jordan helping his friend with the mural, the rainstorm, the cab driver's policy about couples. Any small change in that sequence would have sent them in different directions, never knowing what they might have found together. "You know," he says as they near the restaurant, "I've never actually thanked that first cab driver." Jordan smiles, the same smile that had caught Alex's attention that first night, full of warmth and mischief, and something that feels remarkably like home. "Maybe we should track him down, invite him to dinner. After all, he saw something in us before we did." "What's that?" Alex asks. Jordan leans closer, his voice soft. "That we were always meant to be heading in the same direction." As they exit the cab into the bustling city night, surrounded by the same energy and possibility that had enveloped them months ago, Alex thinks about how sometimes the best journeys begin when you're fighting over the last taxi on a rainy night, and how sometimes, just sometimes, cab drivers might know more about love than they let on. Total _char_count, 17,982.